بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا.
And Usman AlGhani, one narration, he said, after that day I knew what my end was going to be. Because I wasn't the Nabi and I wasn't the Siddiq, which means I was going to be a martyr. Usman AlGhani was also known for his generosity. He was always at the forefront. You know that guy who's at the fundraiser and raises his hand first all the time? And then maybe might even raise his hand in the middle again. And then might raise his hand at the end again. You know that guy? He was that guy. In the fundraiser, always at the front, raising his hand, I'll be the one. And then a little while later, when the crowd was turned up, people went a little quiet, he would raise his hand again, I'll do it again, O Messenger of Allah. And then at the end, while the fundraiser was doing the tashkeel, who else is going to give, who else is going to give, he raised his hand again, okay, I'll give some more. That was Uthman bin Affan. When the Muslims arrived in Medina Munawwara, they didn't have water to drink. The water that they drank in Medina Munawwara, the well was owned by a Jewish man. And he was very hard with sharing his water. So Uthman purchased half of the well. And then what he did was, he said, anyone that wants to drink from my well, from my half, meaning my day, one day was a Jewish man, one day was Uthman. He said, whoever wants to drink from my day can come and drink because my water is free. Now everyone was coming during Uthman's day, no one was coming on his day. His business was gone. He killed him. So that guy came to him and said, Uthman, there's no use for me to have the other half of the well. Why don't you take the full thing? So Uthman paid him a good price, not a little bit, paid him a good price. And he bought the rest of it. After he bought the well, what did he do? He didn't keep it to himself. He didn't say, it's my well and whoever wishes to use it can use it. That's one thing he could have done. This is my car, whoever wants to drive it, come and ask for my key and then you can take it. He made it waqf for the Muslimin. This is no longer his wealth. It doesn't have my name on it. I have no possession of this at all. I won't call this my wealth anymore. This is not the wealth of Uthman. This is the wealth of the Muslimin. And Uthman, like the rest of the Muslimin, has the choice to use it if his turn comes. If his turn comes, then he can drink from it too. And then one day the Prophet ﷺ was doing a fundraiser in the masjid and was saying that we need to extend the masjid. Who will give, who will give, who will give? And who raises his hand again? Uthman. And not only does he gives a huge chunk. It's as if he purchased the rest of the property from which then the Prophet ﷺ purchased it. And then the famous story is during the Battle of Tabuk. The Battle of Tabuk is a very important battle because this battle was against the Romans. This happened not too long before the Prophet ﷺ passed away. Not too long before. But the Prophet ﷺ passed away, the Battle of Tabuk happened. Now this battle was against the Romans. And Fath Makkah was already done, so Makkah Mukarramah was conquered. Once Makkah Mukarramah was conquered, the Jazeera al-Arab was neutralized. The only thing left now was the international threat, which was the Roman Empire. So the Romans showed their intention of war, and the Prophet ﷺ was also ready to march in their direction. He prepared an army, and because they were going up against the Romans, the Prophet ﷺ, he gathered the companions together and said, we need every soldier on the ground. No one can be left behind. And not only that, the Prophet ﷺ said, whatever you can bring it. Like there's a passive fundraiser and then there's an aggressive. We need it. This is not a if or but situation. We need the money now. So the Prophet ﷺ repeatedly said, we need it now, we need it now, everyone bring it, everyone bring it, everyone bring it. And that's where the famous story of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu brought everything he had. And Umar radiallahu anhu brought half of everything he had. And even though in quantity Umar radiallahu anhu had more stuff than Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, but Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu outdid Umar radiallahu anhu because not the quantity but the quality. And what's the quality? He gives everything. One person gives half of everything, they have like half trust. Not that Umar radiallahu anhu had half trust, but they're trusting Allah by saying, Ya Allah, I'll give half there, but the other half I need to keep for myself. But Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu gained everything for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By the way, you shouldn't use this hadith to empty out your bank and give it to the masjid. That istidlal is not a good istidlal. The reason is because Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu only did this because the Prophet ﷺ actively said, bring as much as you can. It was one of those, it was like a crunch. Allah protect, Allah protect, Allah protect, Allah protect. But if that situation ever came where someone in the community said, all Muslims in America, you need to give everything you have, then you empty out your economy. Because that's what Allah's calling. That's when that moment is there where everyone needs to give everything. It's like an amen, everyone needs to come and give whatever they can. So then at that point, even though people gave whatever they could, there was still more that needed to be given. There still wasn't enough to go against the Romans. So the Prophet ﷺ said, is there anyone, more, who raises his hand? Uthman radiallahu anhu. And the second time, the Prophet said, more. He raised his hand again. And the second time he made a pledge equivalent to the first pledge. And the Prophet said, we need more. And he raised his hand a third time and said, O Messenger of Allah, whatever I pledged the first 2 times, I make that pledge a third time. Then after that, he said, O Messenger of Allah, wait a few moments, let me go. He went back home, bought back a bag with some jewelry, some diamonds, pearls, and some gold and silver in there. And the value of the possessions in that bag were equivalent to all 3 of those commitments put together. When the Prophet ﷺ saw him giving and giving and giving, he then said, "O Uthman, you've given us so much today that after this day, no matter what you do, Allah is going to give you Jannah. You're set. You're going to Jannah. After this day, it's done. You're going to Jannah, definitely." So Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu is that companion. You have to keep that in mind. Such a high rank, such a great companion. Now, after the Prophet ﷺ passes away, who is the Khalifa? Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. After Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu passes away, who's the next Khalifa? Umar radiallahu anhu. After Umar radiallahu anhu passes away, who's the next Khalifa? Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu. Now Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu's Khilafah, in order to understand it, you have to divide it into 2 parts. The first half and the second half. The first part of it was a very peaceful Khilafah, because the peace that was established by Umar radiallahu anhu trickled on. It continued on. The last half of his Khilafah became a little unstable. And there are many reasons for this. And the biggest problem towards the end of his life, actually let's just jump to the end of his life directly. There were a group of people who came to Medina Munawwara from Egypt. And they said to Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu that you are unfair. Uthman radiallahu anhu said, how am I unfair? And they accused him of nepotism. What did they accuse him of? Nepotism. What that is that he appointed his family members in positions of authority. Okay? So what he would do is, if in Egypt he appointed his family members there. In Sham he appointed his family members there. So they said that you are bringing your family members in and you are giving other Muslims an equal chance and opportunity. And your family members are living it high, they're enjoying themselves, and they're oppressing people. This was their overall claim. Okay? Now, a part of their claim was true, a part of their claim was false. Now, the details, maybe another time we can go into it, let's just keep it simple for now. Okay? Uthman radiallahu anhu, he explained to the people that your thoughts are incorrect, and the wrong that they were doing, I will hold them accountable for it. If they're misspending the money, they will be held accountable. If they're doing any oppression, they will be held accountable. Go back to your communities and stay there, and I will do a check-in on all those people. So everyone that you're bringing complaints against, I will look into them all one by one, and then I'll deal with them. Now, while these people were heading back home, they saw a messenger rushing past them. They stopped the messenger. They said, where are you going? The messenger said, I'm going to Egypt. Well, they said, we're going to Egypt too. What are you doing there? So he said, the Khalifa is sending me with a letter to the leaders of Egypt. So they said, show us the letter. He said, no. They said, you have to. They kind of snatched the letter, opened it up. And the letter said, when these people arrive in Egypt, kill them all. Now, this is a very problematic issue. Why? Because it's betrayal against these people. These people became very angry. They came to Medina Munawwara and they demanded immediately Uthman bin Affan to step down. You can't do anything anymore. Now let's stop there. Let's step back. Let's talk about that letter for a second. Does anyone here for a single second think that that letter was written by Uthman? Yes or no? Never. Kalla, hasha, not at all. It was not written by Uthman. Who was it written by? There are two opinions. The first opinion is, it was written by his katib, his scribe. And he did khiyana against Uthman radiallahu anhu and sent the letter. Now why he sent that letter is because he thought, now either it was Uthman radiallahu anhu's scribe or it was some of the close advisors that were around him. And the reason why they did this is because they thought that these people were rebels who were making false complaints against their rulers and causing instability, therefore they should be treated as bughat and they should be killed. You guys understand their argument? Now whether you agree with it or not, that was their argument. Now, but at the end of the day, no matter whatever your intention is, the means don't justify the ends. And what was the means? They lied. They forged Uthman radiallahu anhu's seal and they sent the letter. These people that came to Uthman radiallahu anhu made it very clear. I did not send that letter. They said, well, it had your seal on it, which means it came from the Khilafah position. You need to step down. We're not going to leave Medina Munawwara until you don't step down. Now, Uthman radiallahu anhu had to make a decision. And what was the decision? Should I step down or should I not step down? Okay. Now, before we talk about him stepping down, there's one more point I need to discuss. Why was Uthman radiallahu anhu putting his family members in all the positions of authority? Is that a valid question? Yes or no? I mean, it's a factual reality. It's a fact that, and the people were accusing him of nepotism. This person appoints his family members, and it is factual that he was appointing his family members. So you have to remember. That's why I started off with this. Which tribe was Uthman radiallahu anhu from? Banu Umayyah. And what did I say about Banu Umayyah there? They were known for being leaders. They were known for being leaders even before Islam. If you were from Banu Umayyah, you have the skill set that one day you were going to be in the White House. Remember I told you guys that there? I even quoted Abu Sufyan at that point there. And what made them such good leaders was what? These guys were businessmen. They frequented Rome, frequented Persia, frequented Africa. They frequented Egypt. And because they went to all these cities, they built good bonds there with the people. Not only were they wealthy in their community, but they had good ties with international affairs. They were aware of multiple languages. They had studied different models of governing. They were on a whole different level. So it wasn't that Uthman radiallahu anhu appointed these people. You know Muawiyah radiallahu anhu who was ruling over Syria? Muawiyah radiallahu anhu had control over Sham, Syria. Okay? You know who appointed him there? Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. Umar radiallahu anhu appointed Muawiyah radiallahu anhu over Sham. The reason is because Umar radiallahu anhu himself knew Sham is a very big ground. It's the major city. They call it the crown of the world. So if there is someone who should be ruling over that land, it needs to be someone who has a lot of skill, and he appoints none other than Muawiyah because he's from which tribe? Banu Umayyah. So it's not that Uthman radiallahu anhu is appointing his family members, he's appointing people who are most qualified, who coincidentally happen to be his family members. Them being his family members is ittifaqi, it's coincidental. That wasn't my intention, but you're my son, that's why you're going. He did it because these people had the skill set. And now that they were accused of doing wrong, he promised that he would check them all one by one, but it didn't get to that. Now let's come back to the point of their threat. You have to leave the Khilafah or we'll kill you. One of two things. We're not leaving the town without us. So what are the options? Uthman radiallahu anhu can step down from the Khilafah, okay? Or he can continue to be Khalifa. If he continues to be Khalifa, there are two options now. What are the two options? That either I fight or I don't fight. If I fight, I deal with these people, get them out of here. If I don't fight, then what happens? I'm killed, I die. So now, in essence, there are three options here. Step down, fight, or don't fight. Now, Uthman radiallahu anhu, many Sahaba came to him. Many Sahaba came to him. They said to Uthman radiallahu anhu that we should fight against him. Ali radiallahu anhu was one of those companions. He said, Uthman, Khalifa, why should we not fight against them and destroy these people? We have such big armies all over the world. We just call them, and these people, a few hundred of them, they're gone. Uthman radiallahu anhu said no. Now why did he say no? In order for you to understand why he said no, you have to put yourself literally 1400 years ago, 1300 years ago, you have to put yourself there. Put yourself in a place of authority, knowing that the three people who ruled before you were who? Umar, Abu Bakr, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These three people. Out of these three people during their lives, did two Muslims ever fight against each other? Yes or no? Never. No Muslim ever killed another Muslim. Now you're asking yourself this question. This is a very important question. It's a moral issue, and it's also a spiritual issue. Do I want to be the first person who opens the door of killing other Muslims? This is a very important question. And Uthman radiallahu anh said that I don't want to be that person. Because once that door is kicked open, it's always going to stay open. And he was right. Because during Ali radiallahu anh's khilafah, it opened up. And since that day until today, that door has been open. Muslims have been killing Muslims, have been killing Muslims, have been killing Muslims. Every person has their own reason to define their uniqueness and how the other people are wrong, and there goes war. He said that's not happening. If that's not happening, there are two options left now. Either we step down from Khilafah, Uthman radiallahu anh said, I won't do that either. The reason is because if I step down from the Khilafah, that proves that a bully can come and bully the Khalifa out of his position. And we can't have that. We can't allow that sort of policy. Because what strength does a Khalifa have at that point? If a few people can come and say, you're out, and they're out. And he also quoted the hadith that one day the Prophet ﷺ told him, oh, Uthman, time will come that a group of people will try to take your garment off, but don't take it off. What is the garment referring to? The Khilafah. The Prophet said, don't take it off. Now there's only one option left, which is not to fight, and just see what happens. Now he said, I won't fight, I'm being very clear, neither will I step down from the Khilafah. So these people, first of all, they started off nicely. Nicely means comparatively nicer to what it ends up being. What do they start off by saying? They start off by saying, okay, if you're not going to step down from Khalifa, we won't let you out of your house arrest. Uthman radiallahu anh says, okay, I'll stay in my house. And the reason why he's staying in his house is why? Is because if he gets confrontational, things are going to get messy. So in order to avoid things getting messy, Uthman radiallahu anh takes a backseat thinking that let time pass and everyone will just head back out. You know how that happens? Sometimes you're in an argument with your spouse or with someone and you say, you know what, let me just take a backseat for a few hours. And then 2-3 hours later, what happens? Things have passed by. So Uthman radiallahu anhu's mind is what? Let's just sit back. I'll be at home for a few days. It's okay, I'll pray salah from there. And then hopefully these things will pass by. Now when Uthman radiallahu anhu is at home and they say you can't step out of your home, meanwhile, Ali radiallahu anhu sends 2 of his sons to go and guard Uthman radiallahu anhu's house. Who are the 2 sons? Hassan and Hussain. Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, there are many young Sahaba who came and they stood outside the house they were guarding. Think of the house as kind of like townhouses, where one wall shares with the house next to you. So they were standing in the front, standing in the back, but the walls are still shared. So there's still an access if someone wants to climb wall over wall from the houses down the line. Now these young men are standing there, they're defending. Uthman radiallahu anhu waited in his home, a few days passed by, he hadn't gone for salah. So he came to the balcony of his home. He said, oh people, you don't let me eat or drink, because they weren't allowing food and water to go to his home. They weren't allowing any food to go to his house. He said, you won't give me anything to drink when I was the one who purchased the well that I'm asking water from today. I was the one who purchased that well. And I gave it to the Muslims, and today you're not letting me drink from that well? And then he said, you won't let me pray salah when I was the one who purchased that land that you're praying salah on today. And today you won't let me pray salah in the masjid anymore? And Uthman radiallahu anhu then went inside his house. And he started reading, he went to sleep. And in that dream, in that night of his, he saw a dream. And in the dream, the Prophet ﷺ said to him, Uthman, we will do iftar together today. Uthman radiallahu anhu woke up, he prepared himself, he held his Quran and started reading it. The Quran that he wrote as the Prophet ﷺ dictated the words to him, his special Muslim. And he's sitting there, and he's reading the Quran, and these rebels, they were tired of waiting. You know how young people just get really jittery? Had they been more matured, they would have known that waiting is a good thing. Go back home. Everything's alive, let's settle down. But they were young people, they wanted a result. So they started climbing over the houses that were attached to the house of Uthman radiallahu anhu, like the townhouse situation. They climbed until they came into his house. Uthman radiallahu anhu, his wife, Naila, she tried to stop them, but they pushed her out of the way. Then after that, one of the young men, he took his sword and he cut the arm of Uthman radiallahu anhu off. And Uthman radiallahu anhu said, you just cut the arm that used to write the revelation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He just cut that arm. That was the arm that he used to write the revelation with. And then another one of them came, he took a sword and he pierced it through Uthman radiallahu anhu. And Uthman radiallahu anhu, as he became shaheed, his blood spilled on the verses that he was reading. And the verses were what? صبغة الله ومن أحسن من الله صبغة. The color of Allah. And which color is more beautiful than the color of Allah? وَنَحْنُ لَهُ عَابِدُونَ. And we are the worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with that, Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu was martyred. Medina Munawwara was really riled up. You guys understand this? People were very angry. The first time, actually not the first time, the second time. The first time was one person killed the Khalifa, Umar radiallahu anhu. But this time a group of people came and they bullied their way and they killed the Khalifa. That's where the whole conflict between Ali radiallahu anhu and Muawiyah radiallahu anhu becomes very, very, very important to understand. Think of it kind of like a riot situation. Everyone's getting really worked up. Ali radiallahu anhu is saying, everyone calm down. We'll figure out the problem. Just settle things down now. Muawiyah radiallahu anhu is saying, we want revenge. We want revenge. We want revenge. That's the situation. Maybe some other day we'll talk about Ali radiallahu anhu's khilafah, talk about the dynamics there. But here, when Uthman radiallahu anhu was killed, the rebels even didn't allow anyone to go into his house after he was killed to go bury his body. A group of Sahaba, including some women who were the wives of the Prophet, they then took his body at nighttime out of his house. They snuck it out. And they took it far from the Masjid of the Prophet. And even in Baqi, they took it to the furthest point. And that's where they came and they buried Uthman. Until today, if you go to Baqi al-Gharqa, or Jannat al-Baqi, you will find all the Sahaba are buried in the front part, but Uthman radiallahu anhu is buried where? Oh, right at the back. Right at the back there. Uthman radiallahu anhu is buried there. He was a Sahabi who was generous through his whole life. Promised paradise by the Prophet ﷺ not once, but many times during his lifetime. Many, many times the Prophet told him, Jannah, 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 you're going to Jannah, you're going to Jannah. Dhinnurayn, right? His generosity, his wealth, his modesty. But when he passes away, you have to add shahada to that list too. He was also a shaheed. And the lands that were conquered during his era were very great. Islam grew, great expansion took place during his time. So Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu was martyred on the 18th of the Hijjah, 3 nights ago. And that's why we talked about Uthman radiallahu anhu. Today's the 21st of the Hijjah. On the 18th of the Hijjah is when Uthman radiallahu anhu was martyred. So I thought we'd sit together on this Friday night and talk about Uthman radiallahu anhu. A little change of topic as well, some biography work, and also appreciate your companions. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our gathering, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives barakah in our knowledge, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to practice. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So like when you were narrating this story, I'm just curious, so if you're a Khalifa, you said stepping down was not the right move because now you're setting a precedent. What about the house arrest stuff? Like, what type of precedent that said that you have a small group of people have restricted Khalifa to a house? I mean, that's number one. And number two is, like you said, the whole Islam was going really fast, so there were no other rules and laws in place how to deal with if there's an uprising. Was it that black and white, either you die or you kill? There was no other rules or laws in place at that time? Because I'm sure it was a vast, the Muslims were spreading everywhere, so there was nothing at that time, kind of like those rules, how do you deal with if you have an uprising?
The issue. Well, the question, there was a twofold question, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the first one was like a Khalifa getting house arrest.
Okay, the Khalifa, let's answer that one first. Uthman radiallahu anhu was put under house arrest. What kind of precedent is that?
Yeah, yes.
Because, I mean, if all the other options wasn't good, this one isn't that good. This one isn't that nice anyway. Well, it's true. All the options that Uthman radiallahu anhu had were not ideal. They weren't ideal. But the option that he chose is kind of like considered to be the lesser evil situation. Okay? And again, look at the options. Him leaving his khilafah, is that a good idea? That's a very bad precedent. Okay? The second is that him going to war, it was his decision. You know, I'm sure most of the Khulafa of Muslim history after the Sahaba would have gone to war right away. But Uthman radiallahu anhu, that's why I say you have to really understand his position, where he is in the world at that time. No one has ever done that before. And he doesn't want to be the first person to do it. That's very hard to understand unless you put yourself there. It's very hard to understand. Okay? Because that's the natural result. That's what naturally people do in the world. Someone comes against you, you go and kill them. Simple. But for him, he didn't want to do that. I'll come to the second part of your question. I know it's itching. I'll come to that.
No, I'm fine.
No, because it fits in right here. It fits in right here. The second part of your question. Let's just answer it now. The second part of the question was that were there not any other options? There must have been some other options that Uthman radiallahu anhu could have used. There actually weren't any other options. The reason was because the people who shared this position that Uthman radiallahu anhu was involved in X, Y, and Z, they were growing in number. And the truth is that a lot of this was stirred by hypocrites, munafiqeen, who literally were Muslim. If you read the historical accounts, you will read this, that these people were categorically not Muslim, some of the people who were stirring this. They were causing this fitna. So it's a group of people that came, but there were many people who had this concern. And some of them came, and Uthman publicly answered them. It wasn't just a one-time discussion. You know what I said to you last time? I mean, earlier in the lecture, people came and said, you didn't participate in the Battle of Badr. He publicly answered them. So every time people came with questions, he publicly answered, publicly answered. Had Uthman taken any other option, the people who were sitting in their circles would have come popped out. And that's exactly why Ali radiallahu anh didn't want to take a step right away after Uthman radiallahu anh was murdered. Because Ali radiallahu anh understood the dynamics of what was going on. Because he must have spoken to Uthman radiallahu anh. Uthman radiallahu anh himself said, the reason why we can't fight, but the reason why we can't take a bold stand against these people, is because if we do, there are too many people everywhere, there will be like this huge, massive revolt. And things will be turned around in such a way. Right now, the revolt is happening in Medina Munawwara, which is a peaceful, calm city. The rest of the cities are still secure. The Khilafah is still, the authority is still centralized. But if there's a huge revolt, there's a possibility the Khilafah itself can fall apart. There's also a possibility that the Muslim world and the lands wherever they are can turn over. And if they turn over and if there becomes political instability in the major cities, and the nearby touching cities, which are non-Muslim owned, run the Christians of the Roman Empire and the Zoroastrians of the Persian Empire, they can come and they can cause a reverse attack. So there's a lot at play here. Uthman radiallahu anhu looked at the situation and he said that taking an offensive stance for him wasn't something he wanted. Now, is that exactly what he should have done? Allah knows best. That's his ijtihad. That's his ijtihad, okay? His ijtihad was, I do not want to take the offense. And I don't want to have any truce with these people. So the taking off the Khilafah was a truce. Fighting with them was an offense. He didn't want to do offense. He didn't want to make a truce. The only other option was to sit back and wait and see how things pan out. So his house arrest wasn't him agreeing to house arrest. It was him sitting back hoping that in time things will settle by. Things will pass by. And then when he said he'll take that back step, it gradually then became a situation that today we describe as being like a house arrest. And that's when Uthman radiallahu anh said, that you're not letting me go now, you're not letting me step up, that's when you started making these claims. That until now I was going to the masjid, but now you guys stopped that too? You stopped the food too? It turned out to be that. Otherwise, originally, he still had some movement, but they were restricting him. Wallahu a'lam, Allah knows what's happening. Any other questions?
And then it led to what he was afraid of.
It led to exactly what he was afraid of. And during the Khilafah of Ali radiallahu anh, things take a whole different turn. There's khair that came out of it too. There's a lot of good that came out of it during Ali radiallahu anh's time, things that happened. But there's a lot of bad that came out of it too. And maybe someday, inshallah, we can sit and we can talk about that part of history in detail too, inshallah.
Well, in his ijtihad, he also came out and he told them that if you kill me, Muslims will never be sit on one place to eat together, let alone. And that's exactly what happened. So he's
taking the approach of Habil and Qabil. It's a very similar approach. There were many options available, but ultimately this is what was going to happen. So Habil said, you killed me, I'm not coming towards you. I'm going to sit back. Let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deal with you over there. But wallahu a'lam, again, this is a pure ijtihad. This is Uthman radiallahu anhu ijtihad. We respect it. And I always tell people, my students, when I teach them this, it's easy for us to think of 100 scenarios because we're sitting in air conditioning and relaxing. But when you're in a situation and you understand the political weight of what you're dealing with, it's a whole different ballgame, right? It's kind of like me sitting here giving a parent advice on how to make your children great. But then the parent who has the kids who are messed up says, your advice, your words don't mean anything. It's all theory. But the practicality, I know what it is. I know what my children are going through. Kind of that kind of situation. And this is also true. There's a prophecy of the Prophet ﷺ which plays another angle in the whole situation, that you will be a shaheed and don't take your garment off. So those prophecies must have also had a spiritual guidance for him too.
Did they ever find who wrote the letter?
Did they ever find who wrote the letter? There was pure denial. They had a good idea who it was, but since there wasn't a Qur'an, they couldn't hold anything out on those people. Eternal, yeah. Any other questions? Sister side, I don't know if you have any questions. I can't see you guys, but if anyone has any questions, let us know. The brothers asking and saying that some people say that Khadija radiallahu anha was the one who gave Uthman radiallahu anhu da'wah towards Islam. Wallahu a'lam, I've never come across that. The most mashhur and the most common narration is that it was Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. There's a long story behind it, and he saw a dream, and there was some poetry involved, a very long poem. But I've never come across Khadija radiallahu anha being that person. Not that it's not true, I'm just saying my knowledge has never reached that far. From our understanding, what we've been taught, what we've read, is that it was Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Okay, we'll end our gathering with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdihi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka.